Hey YouTube, it's me, Rick Ross, coming to you with a video, and I'm going to talk about the Bible in this one. I'm going to give you 5 reasons why you shouldn't and you have no reason to really trust the Bible. And the first is the age of the earth. Science says the earth is 4.5 billion years old. Now let's think about that in contrast to what the Bible says, 6 to 10,000 years, or what most Christians say, most Christians believe. I can't wrap my head around that, since I've seen things that disagree with that entirely, including rocks and other things that clearly are well over 1 million years old. Think about that. 1 million years old. But we have religion telling us 6 to 10,000 years old. Okay. So that's one. There are a lot of people will disagree and say carbon dating is not accurate. There's other ways that they actually date the age of the earth. Look it up. One way is coring a tree, and that's incredibly accurate from what I understand. So there's a lot to the age of the earth. There's just too much for me to even get into here. So let's move on to the next one. The next one is some of the stories in the Bible, kind of ridiculous. Case in point, Noah's Ark. 2 by 2, blah, blah, blah. It's impossible. Think about it. You get predators on a boat with this prey that they like to eat, and they don't eat them. That's just one. That's just one question. What the crocodiles eat, excrement. It's a lot of animals. Elephants, they take big dumps. What are you going to do? You had 8 people caring for all these animals. Good luck. I don't want to do it. Let's see, what else could get into about this? Oh, some of the other stories. Abraham and Isaac. We all know this story. He is going to kill his son, but God told him not to. You prove faithful. There's another story in the Bible. I think it's Jephthah, and he promises God that whoever the first person he sees come out of his house to greet him, he will sacrifice. Well, his daughter came out to greet him, and the Bible says, explicit words, he did just so. So we have 2 contrasting stories. One, someone lives, the other one, their son or daughter in this situation, dies. Why do you not have a problem with that? Let's go on to one last story in the Bible. How about the story of Babel? Yeah, Tower of Babel. Now, you may think this is just ridiculous, but think about this for a minute. Why would God, the creator of everything, feel threatened by men? So they build a tower up to heaven, and God says that they're getting to, I can't remember the wordage, but basically there's nothing they can do. Think about that. Why would God feel threatened by men? That's like me being threatened by a couple of ants. Really? Are you kidding? Let's go on to the third one. The Bible is sexist, and there's not really a way to deny this. The first example I want to get to is that story. The story of the Amalekites, I think. And God tells them to go in and kill everyone. Women, children, infants. What did infants do? Really? Infants? Why do you kill the infants? The sheep, the goats? Why are you killing the animals? Why is God telling them to kill the animals? Can you imagine if God told you to kill an animal? God told you to kill a whole flock of animals. Another part of that story that's it's ridiculous. It's the fact that he tells them, the women and the virgins, keep for yourself. That's a bit disturbing when you think about it. Why is he telling them to keep the virgins for themselves? What do you think they're going to do, That's just one terrible story about. And the other part about that story too is it says if you see a woman you like, you're free to take her and make her your own. She's yours. I mean, can you imagine that? That's basically just treating women as property. And I just can't get down with it. Can't, no matter what. And so there's a few other stories that are sexist. There's some other weird stories too. Lot and his 2 daughters. And this is God telling us this is okay because it's not frowned upon in the Bible. And so I guess after Lot leaves, his 2 daughters get him drunk and they have a threesome with him. Okay. So they get their father drunk and they sleep with him. That is just the weirdest thing I've ever heard. Oh man, that's just weird. Okay. So not to veer off too bad, let's get to my next point. And my next point is the Bible writers themselves. From what I understand, all the gospel writers were anonymous, all of them, except Paul. They're all anonymous before, and they just added Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Make us feel good, I guess. I really don't know their reasoning, but it is what it is. And as far as corroboration outside of the Bible, which you may not think this is important, but for me, this was important. I want to find evidence proving the Bible outside of the Bible. And I couldn't really find much except Josephus and Tacitus, and those scriptures are vague. I want to shout out Santos Bonacci. He exposed that one back a couple years ago. And yeah, so there we are. And it doesn't make any sense that we have a book written by God. I mean, let's not beat around the bush or minimize this. We're talking about God, the creator of everything we see. And I would think there'd be no question about that. I mean, you would have tons of corroboration everywhere. Plato, everyone would have written about this guy, but we don't see it. We do have other figures like him, which is my 4th point. All the gods who were like Jesus. Apollonius, he was around when that time when Jesus was supposedly, and people were looking for messiahs. He claimed to have 12 disciples and a few other things like him. We have Mithras. We have Romulus. We also have some other deities. Horus somewhat, but not exactly. And these deities aren't exactly spot on with Jesus, and neither do they have to be. They don't have to be spot on with Jesus. They just need to have some attributes that are similar. Like Mithras, this God didn't have all the attributes of Jesus, like 12 disciples or anything like that. But he had a dying and resurrecting, I can't remember the term, but that's a common thing. A passion is what it's called. And he did have a passion, and that's undeniable. Look him up, Mithras. Who else? Romulus, of course. He's thought to be the founder of Rome, and his story it just seems like just mixed with so many things. Like, for example, him and his brother were sent down a river in a manger. Okay, whose story is that? We have the Epic of Gilgamesh, which is basically where Noah's Ark came from. You don't believe me? Do your research. There's a lot of gods out there. There's a lot of religions that was borrowed from other religions, and Christianity didn't hesitate either. And my last and final point is how much the Bible was edited. Oh man. And how many changes has the Bible gone over, and how much we can't prove. And just because you can't prove it doesn't mean it's not there. I can't prove that the sun doesn't rotate, or the earth doesn't rotate, I'm sorry. But we know the earth rotates. We know that for a fact. And that's just the bottom line. So, as far as the Bible is concerned, I can't wrap my head around certain things. So this was just a start video. I'm going to go into detail, and I'm going to really break this stuff down. And I feel like I need to pay it forward. I was a Jehovah's Witness for 6 years. I was Pentecostal, and now I don't subscribe to either of them. In fact, I'm agnostic. So, anyways, I hope you guys do your homework. Don't just take this crap and set it aside. Lots of people want the truth. I want the truth. I search for the truth. You search for the truth too. So, with that said, peace, good night, Merry Christmas.